Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural first session of a new podcast that me and my friend here, Quentin, are started called Between Two Farms. Um, I'm your other co host, Nathan Faleide, and to my other side, whichever way the camera is Quentin Connealy. We'll get a little more into who we are and kind of our stories, but first off, why we're doing this. It really kind of started, I maybe sparked the conversation last year. I was doing a little bit of my own podcast, talking about the ins and outs of ag tech and all the precision ag stuff. But I felt like there was a little more flair needed. And Quentin has been dealing with some of the ag tech stuff as well. It's been a longer kind of career thing for myself as I kind of grew up in it. Um, and figured there's a larger story to be had. Using technology on the farm and all the ins and outs between it is sometimes kind of passed off, or it's stressful to deal with. There's a lot of ins and outs on why things are the way they are, and beyond just how that interacts with a normal farm, it acts differently within the business itself. So thought was, between both our backgrounds, and I'll be starting farming this next year myself again. Maybe we can help figure this out. So that's kind of the idea. And as my farm will be in northern North Dakota and Quentin's is in eastern Nebraska, yeah, let's figure out what's between these two farms and everybody else, and hopefully we'll have maybe some guest hosts and other people on at times, and have some fun around it. As I have a fun little comedic presence online, and Quentin does as well. So there we go, Q. What do you think?
All right, man. Yeah, I'm excited. This is a new adventure for me. So I've been guests on a few podcasts, but this will be the first one to help host, and glad to do it with you. I think we got a same good vision here that we're going to tackle on the farm and with the technology side. So I think the results are going to be endless. We can get through a lot of stuff, but I think we're going to have to take it episode by episode. And I'm in a little different. I grew up, actually went to college for technology, creative media. My dad sent me off, learned some other trades, and little did we know when I got out of the farm that computers would be running our tractors. So, and fortunate to
Yeah.
have that background in technology and early adopter and really chase it here in eastern Nebraska. So, use a lot of John Deere Operations Center, irrigation management, nutrient management, variable rate technology. So, just test a lot of being an early adopter. You got to have some patience. So, I think that's what we got, and that's what we can bring to the table and help these companies adopt to the farm.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the I've been dealing with farmers and ag business, people of all sorts, corporates to independent agronomists, um, since honestly, since I was a kid, in the mid '90s. I grew up on a farm in central North Dakota. My dad farmed. The '80s were tough, so I lived through that fun mess, which we're going through a fun mess now. Not the same, but it's still stressful and uncertain. But he um, he started one of the first ag software companies, and we were looking at satellite imagery and looking at the field health of crops. And big reason he started it was to help farmers, to be like, hey, there's different changes here, there's different things going on. And as auto steer was coming in the early '90s, and GPS and all the fun things around it, yield monitors, there was this kind of feeling going around by everyone's like, okay, we can do this better. And that was 30 years ago, 32 years ago from when he started. And now there's thousands of options and tons of different equipment, but it still feels like we're not doing it, we're not adopting it to its full level.
Right.
And that's kind of my big thing. It's like, how can we break that barrier of how people think of it and understand it, because that's not been done really, don't you think?
No, that's what, yes. It's hard to fathom. We've been doing this for 30 years and it doesn't seem like we can quite get the info fast enough to make decisions on the farm and that it's clear enough to make actual clean decisions. So whether you're working with agronomists or other companies, retailers, it just seems like we need to get the data faster so we can make real time decisions out on the farm. So, and my dad was kind of the
Well,
opposite.
and
He sent me off to learn the technology. He didn't know much about it and didn't want to learn it. So that's cool that your dad
Yeah.
actually was a big part of what's going on out here.
Yeah, I mean, just to get maybe we should get a little more into our kind of backdrops as we're, kind of dive into that. So, um, it all started, for me on the technology side in 94. So I was 10 years old. I'm 41 now. Uh, he started this because he wanted to help the industry because the industry kind of didn't help him and kind of took him out. And there's a lot of storylines from that. And I'll share bits and pieces of that through time because I've learned a lot from it. But grew up through the family company SatChat. I'm in here in North Dakota, and this is where a lot of tech has kind of started and evolves for the need. It's needed to happen, and through learning that, met with all these different people and stories and talking and getting people to try to use it. And then I've dabbled in some other things, crop insurance, which is another passion of mine because it's this protecting barrier to it. And I always felt technology was this protector of how a farm can operate. It's all about risk. Everything's risky. Technology helps de-risk areas of it, and that's what crop insurance does. So my goal was to merge them. That was kind of my job, and I've always continued that. We always worked on insurance with satellite imagery to look at claims differently and things of that nature to make things more efficient and reduce fraud, waste, and abuse. I've worked for some other companies too, dealing with data translation and transfer of data from APIs between different softwares and systems, and played a little corporate ball here and there, although that's not really my world as I grew up in an entrepreneurial family and you can't take that out. So I've done some consulting and side things, even as people will call me, I'm kind of this ag tech meme lord. I call myself a appropriately cynical ag tech mentalist, and but that's also not always been the dream for me. Farming was always the dream, and I always thought technology's got to bring me back into it somehow. And I've dabbled a little here and there. Had to take a break. Now I got an opportunity back with my wife's family, and I'm gonna. It's a smaller farm. I got to start from scratch, but that's a fun story, and I'm gonna try to showcase that tech can be used right off the bat, even on a smaller farm, to de-risk the situation. Um, so that's my story for everyone. What you dabbled a little. Q, go deeper.
Oh, yep. So yeah, started out technology. I mean, the World Wide Web was kind of taken off. I think I'm just a year younger than you, so I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
I
Yep.
graduated high school in 2004, went off and tried to tackle the World Wide Web. So I was writing code and everything and trying to help companies market that way and learning it through college and then played baseball. So I'm a big baseball team guy. Love the game of baseball. So revolve a lot of my life around that and the concepts of baseball because failure, I mean, just like technology failure, you get used to it in baseball. You fail 2 out of 3 times usually. So that's gave me the patience and the willingness to work with some of these companies, and then now I kind of just took a role as a grower adoption because I've been farming here about 15, 16 years. And now I saw a role that some farmers, these companies need help getting it to the farm. So that's kind of the role I was excited to get into, helps bring technology to my farm, and then helps these other companies come along a little faster. I mean, it all takes a little while. I mean, the first couple, 2 or 3 years aren't always that easy, but we can get some stuff figured out if we take the time and go through it field by field or problem by problem. We can get some of this tackled and get some better information to the farmers faster. So, and
Yeah.
then
No, for sure. And
we're mainly corn and irrigated soybeans around here. So you'll find I play with a lot with irrigation management, nitrogen management, variable rate. So
Mhm.
we're pretty much flatlanders, but I am expanding into the hills a little bit next year. So we'll get a little bit of elevation in the operation.
Well, what does hills mean to you? Because what's fun, like where I live right now. So I don't live nearby where I'll be farming. 3 hours away, and where I grew up, it was a nice rolling, gentle plains. Where I will be farming, it's pretty flat, but there's nice little tiny rolls. It's flatter than where I grew up. But I live in the Red River Valley right now, outside of Fargo, and a hill is like 5 feet. It
That's where I
seems
live. Yeah.
everything's so damn flat here, but and I know I've drove by your area. It's very flat. So what's the new hilly ground? What does that look like?
Okay, so yeah, I'm basically in the Missouri River Valley right here along the Missouri River in Tacoma, Nebraska, where I'm at, and then the hills are about 8 miles to the west. So we're nestled in between the Loess Hills and the Nebraska Hills
Oh, sure.
here. So I'm guessing there's no terrace or terrace. I don't know how you say it. I've never been around them, but there's none of that. But I think it's maybe 400 feet, I would say. I haven't been up there. I haven't
Okay.
taken the operations center up there and tested the elevation. We just got it, so I have not been up there having equipment on there. I just kind of went and mapped it and did some driveways so we knew where the entrances and stuff. So it'll be a little bit, but it's
Cool.
not
Well,
crazy.
you'll have to record all that and share that experience. We'll share it on here, and
Right.
probably the new frustrations of farming tougher ground, I would assume, maybe, or is it
Yeah. I think it's
is
it's
it
pretty
irrigated up
healthy. It's
there
pretty
too?
fertile. It's pretty fertile, but it's dry land.
Okay.
There is one pivot up there, but it is dry land and it runs off a lot better because I mean down here in the Missouri River Valley where I'm at, I mean we're graded to the river. My house is, I mean, I'm just barely above the 50-year floodplain at my house, so it's all graded to
Yeah.
field edges to ditches, out to creeks, all the way to the Missouri River. So pretty flat, just like you. I'm
Well,
at.
that's kind of what got you kind of popular a little bit though too, because of yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, so yeah, usually if you get big rain events, which we did in I think it was May of 2017 when this happened, we had a 6 to 8 inch rain event, and it just sometimes these big ones it can take a day or two to run off to the river. So yeah, I went and grabbed a wakeboard and went out there and wakeboarded on our channel corn plot, and kind of went viral and took a while. I mean, I was kind of thrown out in the limelight. I was kind of a quiet kid back then, introverted, and
Mhm.
then you get thrown into the news and you got reporters calling you wanting to talk about what's going on here in the farm. I was like, this is kind of cool. So just kind of started talking to my farm about my farm after that. And now it's blown up here. Was it 8 years later? And it's my first podcast. So just kind of its own personal growth. We just keep growing ourselves, and imagine that's what you've been doing
Yeah.
this a little longer than me, but just the same concept. We want to talk about these things, and this is one of the better avenues to try it.
Yeah, I always kind of kept away from some of that too. I think I'm an extrovert of sorts. Like can be introverted, but then can be extroverted. It kind of depends.
Right.
Uh,
We kind of have our
in
circles.
a beer doesn't hurt either. You know, I think it helps everybody. So,
Right.
but
Right.
I kind of got into um, more of the social side is when I was running my family's company, which we were kind of going through a tough time because as I've illustrated my other stuff, I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn for those listeners. I just I got frustrated because I saw, you know, my dad helped start kind of an entire sector of ag tech around imagery, and he built that up showing that this is possible. And then and everyone was kind of for years doing their own thing and separate things, and all of us kind of all the software guys and digital guys and ag tech people, we never even called it that. We called it precision ag.
Uh-huh.
Started kind of we all were kind of doing well and figured out our niches, but then uh climate got $1 billion from Monsanto to be bought. And then all this money came in, which there was need for that. And then it just created this giant swarm of like activity. And all of a sudden overnight, it was us and like one other competitor. And then all of a sudden we have like 50 of them. And it's just like it creates this just pool of crap.
Right.
that,
That's what.
and you fight through it, but sometimes you know, we kind of became the old news. So I came back in. I was in the crop insurance world, and it's like, all right, let's try to ring this back up. And during that time, I was like, you know, I can talk about this. I can start talking about my experiences and what I think about this all. And I started making fun memes and explaining, just bringing comedy into it because, you know, I never really see that. I never saw that much, especially in the business front, because everyone's got too scared to like say what they really want.
Right.
I was like, all right, well, I'm on the family business. I can kind of say what I want, whatever. And then it kind of turned into, okay, I'll write around that and do this, and people started to like it because as a lot of people have said to me, I can't say that. Like but you're right.
but
And
it's
I think that's
relatable.
what's important that, I've learned a lot. And, you look at that on like, I think of like, other comedians of, whomever it is, name your person. Yeah, controversial, but sometimes it makes you question things. And I mean, that's kind of my goal here on this podcast too, is let's question some things that businesses have done, what they're also trying to do and change, but also for farmers. We're
Mhm.
not perfect. Farmers aren't perfect.
Nope.
We create a lot of our own messes, unfortunately.
Yep.
And it's a different industry. It's a different job compared to all these other things. There's family, there's history, there's passion, there's legacy, all this stuff. And I think technology can play a role in that, but it's scary. As you've pointed out, it's learning something new and trying something. It's like, well, we've always put 150 pounds of nitrogen on this field, like everywhere, and it pays the
Right.
bills. But
Yep.
then you get the bill, and you're like, and you go down the field, and you're like, well, shit, that area is not good.
Nope.
And then you start questioning, but it's hard to like do something about it.
Right. And that's kind of where I came up with the motto last year, like bridging tradition and technology and modern farming, because I'm kind of taking my dad's old concepts and we're just fine tuning little spots here and there. And that's where we bring the technology on
Yeah.
there to help further farm. Cause I mean, just like my dad made a hell of a living farming for 52 years. So he must have known something. But I always had just my
Yeah.
little set aside acres where I could test stuff on. And then once he passed in 2022, I'd kind of full reins to keep adapting this stuff to the farm. So I mean, you start out little. I mean, you don't bring all this stuff on in 1 year. You set aside a few acres and maybe spread them out a little bit. So you take some weather concepts out of there. Cause I mean, just like this year, weather smashed all the fields by my house, but you go 8 miles north and it's fine. And we got some real data out there.
Yeah.
So spread it out a little bit and just pick some acres and start tackling some of this stuff. So
Well, and I always find it. I've looked at so many fields throughout the world, and because I've had access to all this satellite data. And what's weird is I've always known what can be done because I've seen like everything. And then when I've been putting on the thinking hat this year, get into farming this next year, and I'll farm around 800 acres and near the Canadian border. So wheat and canola and there's soybeans and corn are actually moving up there. The corn belt's actually moving up in my area, and luckily our land rents and all that are way cheaper. Uh,
there
but
you go.
our yields aren't quite there. But whether I get into that or not, it's odd. And this is a part I plan to talk about because it's the same fear. Like even I, knowing all these things and access to all these things, a lot of it I don't have to pay for even. People are giving me access to
Right.
sensors and software and data up to wazoo. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, well, I haven't farmed this ground yet. Like I've looked at it, I see it, I kind of understand it, but should I actually get too deep into that stuff? Like
Right.
the fear and uncertainty is sitting in, and even I'm this like veteran ag tech person, I'm questioning some of it, but that's the same feeling everyone gets.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the same feeling every farmer gets. It's like, wow, geez, it's been going good. Like I had good yields on that field. Like if I play with something else, what's going to go wrong? Like if I
Mhm.
don't put 150 pounds there and I put 100, am I? What's going to happen? Is that going to make it worse?
Right.
And
Right. And that's why I think we're chasing
like even
ROI now. So it's tough.
even the most knowledgeable on something and accessible, someone like me, I even get that. And that's the thing I want to portray to a lot of the ag businesses that use this and push this out there is there's when you're trying to sell technology to someone that farms, there's all these other dynamics. There's all these other feelings and emotions to it. Like, what have you felt on that? You're like, oh, this is going to be great, but then it's like, oh shit, it just kind of
Right, right.
like
It's almost like an
settles in.
anxiety because yeah, seems like it's never the perfect year starting out. It's either too wet or too dry. So you just never know going into it what the soil conditions are gonna be like. You want that good start at planting season. So we know we got a little enough fertilizer out there ahead, and then we'll kind of come back later. But yeah, it's a scary spot because it's a lot of money anymore for nitrogen. So you want to put it in the right spot at the right time. And I think that's kind of why we're starting to watch a little bit more of that, just with Sentinel and some of these groups that are watching our nitrogen efficiency. And it goes in even to government programs now. I mean, they don't want you putting
Mhm.
nitrogen too much into the ground and getting into our water system. So I mean, there's just all kinds of possibilities and scary things out there.
Well, that yeah, that's the other thing. I've always been a proponent of wanting, fairly more people to use all this stuff, as that's been kind of a, more of the background of what, gets me going. But yeah, there's that other side. It's like, are we getting to a point that we're going to be forced to use some of this stuff? I mean, we are to a point with, like I said, some of the regulations there are, and you're in a, flat area next to a river and
Mhm.
irrigation. And, where I'm at, there's more probably maybe more of a waterfowl thing because there's a lot of potholes everywhere
Right.
and little ponds and things like that. But yet, there's this fear, I think, on all sides of, we know what's right and wrong. And there's a lot of outsiders that say, well, farmers, you're ruining the environment. You're doing this. But no, you're just trying to get by and you're trying to do the right things. But sometimes you're limited. And sometimes it's even by the rules and regulations that are meant to be good, but they constrict like
Right.
what makes sense, like fiscally. And like you can't make those decisions. And sometimes I, I think that's where so much of this gets turned on its head in the wrong way is,
Yep.
and then it gets into, I go, well, this government, whether it's local or national, I should do it this way. And then the natural reaction is like, yeah, well, I don't want to share that with you because
Mhm.
what are you going to do to me?
Right.
It's always there because farming has always been challenged by all these like outside factors, and it's bigger than ever now. I mean, just look at the world.
Yeah, I think transparency is going to be a big thing coming in the future here. So that's why I'm trying to prep my farm, doing a lot of these things ahead, just so when the regulation does get here, if it does, that my farm's prepped and ready to show it that we've been working on it and show the efficiencies that we're working on. But I mean, even working with some of these nitrogen companies, they're not really pushing our limits down. I mean, we're not really getting rid of it, a bunch of nitrogen out right now, but we're just putting it out at different times to make it more efficient. So we're not getting that
Yeah.
loss. Because yeah, we do there's lots of leaching scares out here with our river bottoms, just like
Hmm.
yours, I'm sure. So I don't know, it's progress. I mean, this is probably my second year messing with it, so I'm still pretty new. So
Yeah.
we're still fine tuning a lot of things, but a lot of test strips out there and seeing where the efficiency's at, and then know that fine tune find that number. So
Well, and I've found throughout the years too, with all of this data and tech, and there's all these things that can be done. But what I've always seen is like any farmer that knows his land or like really wants to, or maybe it's even their most trusted advisor, their agronomist, a lot of that information, it's right up here in the head. It's there, it's bothering you, you're thinking of it, you overthink it, the areas that are this and that, or you have a good assumption or understanding. And but it's hard to get that out and like do something technically about it, like
mhm.
physically about it. You can think of it, and some people would dial tune it up on just the monitor, like, well, I know this battery, I'll switch it here. But that's just, that gets to be a lot. And I've told people for years is like, find information that just that just digitizes what's already in a farmer's head or the agronomist or something, and think of it that way, because that's like the hard part is just the illustration of what can or can't be done. And it's a communication piece, really. And it's not just like, oh, here's some data, whatever. It's like, no, like it's got to be set up to think like we think.
Yep.
And we can do all better at that. I don't know.
Is AI
Do
going to
you?
help us?
Well, that's what I was going to ask, is like, I know a lot of groups doing that, adding that in, and even good friend of mine is creating some courses to do that, and we're both signed up. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we can create some of our own. I almost think AI can be a way to almost talk to your field, but you need to have all the right information there too, and typing that in a computer or in an app is terrible. It just sucks.
Not for us.
And so we've gotten used to. I mean, you bring up operations center. It's like, okay, it's just all this machine data coming back and filling that up. It's like, okay, let's see it here, but that's only like a part of the story. Most of what's unlocked to unlock is in the head,
Mhm.
or it's in dad's head, it's in grandpa's head, it's in mom's heads, whatever. It's in all these people's minds, and software doesn't extract that.
Right.
Data that's remotely sensed doesn't necessarily do that.
And what's the one
It
thing that, like,
so
that soil
maybe
wet
AI is that.
I don't know, I think there's a little bit, like, Advanced Agrilytics, I used to work with them a little bit, and that soil wetness index is one I kinda like to follow around here with our flat river bottoms. You've probably seen some of that, but you find some of those
Mhm.
pockets out there you probably didn't know, and I think you can start training at least your variable rate maps and stuff for at least how much that them low acres can hold for nitrogen and plant health.
Yeah.
So, there's some fun stuff out there. I think I haven't we've played with it for a few years, but I think that model's kinda cool. That's why I stuck with my agronomist Kent, so
Well, I think too is there's a group I know pretty well, and they've built some cool things. I'll be testing on the farm a lot, called Furrow, and it's the idea is basically it's kind of like we're doing now. It's like hit record, and while you're in the field, just talk. Like just talk
Mhm.
about what you're doing. It's
Yep,
like, oh, I'm putting this on. I'm doing this. I'm right here. This is the seed I put in. Is the chemical, and yeah, that's what I'm doing, and it'll cycle through all that information, match it up to proper databases
right.
and things, and say, here, here it is. It digitizes what you just said. It's not just the words. It's actually translating it to all this back end information that is in all these servers and computers and databases and everything, so that it can help make the machines and the systems do what's needed. I think that's the breaking thing that like AI can kind of help with, is just that
Right, yeah,
barrier, because
yeah.
what what your translation of how you farm and how I will or how someone else is, there's always like nuance to it. There's all these varying oddities to it,
You got that funny
but
North
there's
Dakota
needing.
accent too.
Yeah, exactly. Some of it draws on from what you see on TV to like even some Canadian
Right.
parts to it, and then you got a little southern drawl, and then at least to me,
I haven't busted out the
and
A
then it,
yet. Get the old northern A's. Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, you draw on the A's, yeah, and so and whatnot, and
Rode a boat.
the
Is that Minnesota?
yeah,
But I
all
think it's
those
fun.
things that
I'll be using, Ask My Farm a little bit for some AI on the farm this year, so I'll be testing Copilot a little bit there, so be some fun
yeah,
conversations
I mean,
later
have
on in the
you?
year once we get start playing with it.
Yeah, and clearly we're starting to get in all these things we're talking about, so that's the flavor, I guess,
Okay,
of the
great.
podcast, because
Cool.
we gotta save stuff for later, right?
Alright, this is just the intro. Get everybody going.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. So I mean, that's half the goal here, is to kind of give you all that are listening a little flavor of how we want to go about things. And I mean, I hope to bring on too some different people, different co-ops, some other farmers that are kind of trying to dabble a little deeper. As I've said to many, okay, if it's kind of the 80-20 rule. You got 5% of farmers that really kind of are trying to dig into technology and new ideas and processes. Then you have like another 5% are kind of following them, wanting to dive in, but there's different limitations. Then you have 10% that are trying to kind of follow those top 10% and like, all right, yeah, I like this, but I'm just not ready there. And then you have like 80% they're like, I don't know, I'm just gonna do what I do.
yeah, they don't need it.
That's
Yep, don't need it yet. Yeah, they don't think. Yep.
even though they use it. Like, that's the thing. Like, everyone actually kind of uses tech slowly and they don't even
Mhm.
realize it. But that's a big goal of mine, is to get that 80% a little bit more engaged. So
Yeah,
it's not 80, maybe it's 70%, maybe it's 60,
it'd
in
be a
different
start.
areas, different regions, it's gonna be different, but
If we can get half of them,
I
then that'd
hope
be
to bring
pretty
in
awesome.
people.
So
Yeah, well, I guess what my hope is like, okay, we need to find some people that are in all of those different kind of parts and be like, just like,
let us know what you're
what
thinking.
sucks?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
That's where the honest truths come
what's
out. So yeah,
yeah, I also hope, uh we know some different ag businesses and peoples and leaders in the space, and everyone wants to kind of promote what they're doing and showcase what they're doing, and I'm all fine with that. But I'm hoping to get a little more honesty out of some of these business people too. And it's one thing, I plan to test different things and try different things, and I've already got like access to like 10 different softwares for free that people want me to like do crap with, which is great. But I hope to get a little more honesty out of just the realities from the ag business side too. Is I know a lot of these people, and sometimes they find it tough to how to connect to farmers in general, and maybe maybe there's a way to break some of that barrier too.
yeah, I think there's
um
endless possibilities there. I mean, there's lots of companies just don't know how to meet the farmer, how to get on the farm. So I think there's a lot of potential there. And then working just with grower adoption and getting them in front of people, and then vice versa. Maybe that farm. I mean, usually on the farmer side, they're looking to fix a problem. So if that company's there fixing the problem, then there you go. We did our job.
yeah, I think it also takes everyone's got to be honest, because you know farmers are generally a more a stoic and stubborn group for all intents and purposes.
Yep.
New things, change is tough. Uh, and I think there's another side, is I hope to reach consumers too, everyday people, to say like, and I don't know how we'll do this. It's just over time, whether it's a main purpose, but my goal is for everyday people to understand that these changes and things people want, whether it's using technology or just processes within it, they're not black and white on and off switches. They they're processes, and also that everyone's human and we all kind of, we're just trying to figure it out. But
Right. Right. We're trying
life's
to make the best
life's tough
decisions
at
for our
times.
farm. So make money and make healthy food. So there's nobody out there I know that just dumps on too much nitrogen because it's fun. So we're all good at this game. We're just still fine tuning it, and we might not have all the answers that consumers want yet, but we're trying to make it easier and more affordable food for them.
Yeah. Well, that's also maybe the problem, is if we're trying to make it more affordable and but then we got to make more of it and we can get our yields up, but then we oversaturate.
Right, right.
No.
Tough market. Yes, yes.
Well, I'll ask you this question, and maybe we can kind of close off here soon. But is yield the most important thing on your farm?
Not anymore. I mean, maybe 5, 6 years ago it was, but now we're chasing ROI. So trying to fine tuning
Yeah,
that high yield to low nutrients, finding that balance. So that's really what we're chasing right now. How about you?
yeah, that's my goal too. And I think I've been trying to think of it too in a different way. Is, okay, it's one thing to sell a commodity, and okay, that's a part of it. But I want the commodities that I grow, and I'll be able to grow a little more specialty things. That's my plan. Maybe they're a little more connected to direct food, because in North Dakota we have like 20 different staple crops, and a lot of them are,
Right.
we have the processing, we have that. We don't have to be just, we're lucky in that state. But I want the commodity to tell a story too, that, like, tying data to it, tying a story of why I'm doing it that way. Like, I don't see the farm for me as just growing crops and grain. I see it as a platform to show what the process is, and to put kind of a story to the crops I'm growing and just to the farm itself saying, this is this is what this is. There's more value to just the commodity, to the thing. There's value to how you do it, to how you think of it.
Yep.
I think people want that. Maybe it's the same thing. There's no different to the product, but I think more people just want to know because
Yep.
they're curious. What do you think?
I think that's a heck of a start. I definitely do that. I wish we had a little more excitement down here because we're just corn and soybeans, but we do a little bit of sweet corn and run a sweet corn festival where we kind of feed the community. So there's some cool stories behind the sweet corn we're able to grow here, which is not a cash crop for us. But yeah, those
Yeah.
stories like you're talking about are, I think that's the new evolution here in farming. So I like it a lot.
Yeah. Well, if we're, I mean, it in my mind, I've told this to a few people, and it's a big essence of all of this. If you take a normal person off the street, the whatever it is, and you show them a grain bin, and it's like anything. On the one grain bin, it just says corn, let's say, or just says soybeans, and maybe the variety, maybe like a few other snippets, just the basic stuff. But then you have a grain bin right next to you, and that's all. Maybe it's field across, or maybe another part of the field. You don't know, but that's actually what is all there. There's now this not only more information, but this whole story about it.
Mhm.
But the point is, the grain in those two bins are worth the same amount of money, no matter what. Like you're gonna have to sell it for the same amount.
Yep.
Maybe with that data, you can get some sort of premium. Maybe that's always the goal. But to the consumer, I think, which grain are you buying first? Are you buying the grain that has all this information to it, or are you buying just this generic thing? And
Right.
even to elevators or grain buyers or feedlot or whatever, it's like which one would you buy first? And I think it's always the one that has more information to it,
Exactly.
and that's
Everybody's
where I
kind
think
of,
ag is going.
yep. Totally agree. Totally agree. And I'm kind of excited about it. I like that traceability to where that crop was grown on what part of the farm and stuff like that. That stuff gets me excited. So that's endless possibilities there and just finding better markets for it because our grain infrastructures aren't set up for it right now. But hopefully we start getting there.
Yeah.
I think the ball's rolling a little bit slowly, but it's rolling.
Well, I see more on farm processing of direct products too, or
Hmm.
maybe I know some that are like buying, planting it into seed and all that. Well, that's a step. Then it's like some might, buy a mill or something and like, well, we're gonna mill our own flour from this and sell it out in bags. Not a lot of it, but something. We're gonna get
Hmm. Even
people
like
got to
deer
think
corn.
differently.
I mean,
Though,
deer corn's pretty, sell that for a nice little incentive.
well, I just saw my buddy had a bag of cracked corn that he's gonna put in a feed plot, and I was like, "How much was that?" He's like, $10. I was like, and I told like I couldn't remember the name. I was like, "Yeah, that's how you do it."
Right, right, right. Yep.
Bag your own shitty corn and you sell it to Fleet Farm.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. That's a little incentive there. Yep. So
Yeah, well, that's how small farms will survive through a lot of this, and of course, big farms they got to de-risk too. It's not as simple as just we're big and we can be big, and that's another misconception I kind of want to hope quell that even if it's a big farm, even if it's running corporate like, it's not that. It's just it you have to use these other tools that yes look like that to be that. And I see it all. I go on Reddit all the time. So I see like what all these people think. And it's terrible for farmers on Reddit. If
mhm.
you're if you go on there, just everyone hates farmers right now because of, money and all this other crap.
Yep.
But that's another thing I hope to change and just talk through at least more. Um, I don't know. Do you think there's any hope for that, or are things like too far gone too? I don't know. To
I think we
change
can
that
reel
narrative.
I know, I think we can reel it back a little bit. Sometimes they dig their own graves. Just depends on the operation. I mean, there's a lot of good operations out there and there's a lot of big ones and they kind of get thrown in the limelight and maybe get what they deserve. But I think most, I mean, 90% of them are pretty solid. just doing the right thing, just
Yeah.
have the possibilities of getting that big and doing it the right way. And that's the way I want to be. I don't know if I'd want to deal with that headache because I'm fine with our acres, but I don't know how they chase tens of thousand acres. I don't know. Doesn't sound enjoyable to me, but they must love the thrill of it or the
Yeah, I
chaos.
don't know. There's some big farms up here, and I know some really big ones in Canada. I've done a lot of work up there, and but it's different. Infrastructure is different. The processes are a little different. But I know one farm. They probably to him and his brother. I think they basically own a township. So they own over 21,000 acres, I think, outright, from what I've been told, at least. And that's just in that county.
Jeez.
But and they tried farming it all, but they can't. They're like, it's just not feasible for us to do it.
Yeah,
But then again, I know operations that are 40,000 acres in Canada, and they're the most well-oiled machines of farms I've seen anywhere. They're
yeah,
just I mean, it's like science working, and it's just different, you know,
yep.
and it's interesting to see, but those are the stories I hope we can get out more, so.
Cool, man. Shall we tell everybody where we're going this week? Next week? We're heading on to FarmCon, aren't
Yeah,
we?
I suppose. Hopefully, I'll get this out on everything before
Oh,
we actually do, but, it'll work. Yeah, so we're going to FarmCon. We'll be talking about this, trying to get things lined up, at least that's the goal, and, I'm picking this guy up in Nebraska, and we're gonna road trip down to Kansas City as he's
be the
I actually
hitchhiker.
looked on a map. Not only where I live now are you basically straight south. Actually, where my farm is, it's almost the same. It's almost like straight north of me. So it's
Yeah.
like I'll have to make a graphic of that or something.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out because yeah, I can see I-29 from my front doorstep, but I just can't get to it because of the Missouri River. So kind of crazy. I can hear the
Yeah.
trains going along there and all the cars. So yep. But
No,
man,
but
yeah, I'm
you've
excited. We'll get
been
down there,
okay.
have some good conversations and network, and
Yeah, I'll be curious. Just a few people I've told everyone's excited, so it should go well. But
yeah,
and and if I ever get talking too much, just like raise your hand because sometimes I get on a
you're a pretty good
trail.
talker. I'm
But
trying to get better. But no, man, this is cool. So I think it's the first good run. It's been fun.
yeah, well, many more to come, and I can't say that we can get to some of these numbers, some of these other uh people get up in podcasts, some of the hundreds and 500s and all that, but that's a goal. Maybe one day we'll have this highfalutin studio or something,
Yeah,
or
I always like quality over quantity, anyways. So as long as we're putting out the right stuff, get some good people coming along
yeah,
with us. It'll be fun.
yeah, no, I agree. Well, any other last thoughts for this intro on what you're what else you want to do or what else you're trying to think around it?
I don't think so. I think we knocked it out. We want to keep them in suspense a little bit, so leave some for some other
That's
episodes.
true. That's true. Yeah, till then. So, but yeah, here we are. Nathan Faleide, Quinn Connealy, between two farms. I guess find us on all the fun channels and socials that I have to now put together.
I'll
get
help you. I'll help you
get
along.
all
So
going and yeah, no, I've done it before. It's not overly bad, but
there you go.
um hope for anyone watching or listening that you see something interesting here and yeah, you like what you hear and you'll share and spread it around and like what we're doing and hopefully it can be something that you take something from, learn from something from the farm, from the tech side of it, from agriculture in general, and make all this work a little better. So thanks for listening for this first one, and you'll see more of us soon. But until then,
Take care.
thanks everyone.
Let's go.
Yep, let's do it.
Woo.